Everyone is speaking out about this as following an absolutely dirty hit by a dirty player in Sam Bennett. Fans, the media, former players are calling for repercussions. So we have multiple shocking updates to go over today as it pertains to Stolar's health and the injury, as well as a possible suspension. But we also have doctors coming out and revealing what they believe is the truth behind what actually happened with Anthony Stolarz. And we'll dive into that as well as multiple updates, as well as some comments from Craig Berube, and of course, break down the game that happened, which was a fantastic game. So a ton to go over today, folks. But before we get into it, if you're enjoying the daily Leafs content, your guys' support has been unbelievable. We had a fantastic live stream yesterday. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. About 70% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel, so make sure to hit that button. There's a lot to go over today. Again, if you're part of the 71%, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We had a fantastic live stream yesterday. This game last night was absolutely, absurd. The Leafs played fantastic, and it's unfortunate the storyline is about the injury, but it has massive implications going forward. There's a ton to dive into, and I want to dive right into it here. If you missed it, you saw a little bit of it there in the intro video. Stolarz got elbowed in the head by Sam Bennett. Pretty confident it was intentional. He left Scotiabank Arena, according to Elliot Freeman, on a stretcher after getting sick following what was seeming like concussion-like symptoms. That's basically confirmed at this point. Wasn't called a penalty. The real question is, how many games will Sam Bennett be suspended for? I want you all to let us know down below if you think he's going to get suspended, all these things. But Darius, we have comments from the players. We have comments from doctors. We don't have comments from Sam Bennett because Florida Panthers declined to make him available. What do you make of this situation before we dive into some wild comments by the doctor or some doctors out there on Twitter and former WWE? It's craziness going on right now. But what are your thoughts on this hit and what it means going forward for the Leafs? Because let's not forget they have games to play here.
First and foremost, I hope Anthony Stolarz is okay. Like, if he doesn't play the next couple of games, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
I hope he's okay because it was scary. The fact that you saw him throwing up on the bench, like, that's scary. That's not a good symptom of anything, honestly. Like, and it shows that he probably has a concussion at this point in time. In terms of the play itself, we're going to get to it in a bit and dive deeper into it. Maybe he was already concussed before this, but in terms of the hit, it's an elbow straight to the head. He knows exactly what he's doing. The puck is at his feet. You can see him at one point looking right at Stolarz. It's the kind of thing where he's pretending like he's not trying to do it, accidental on purpose kind of thing. He did it. It could have been anybody else on the Panthers. Maybe not anybody else, but it could have been like somebody else on the Panthers, and we wouldn't be thinking that much of it. Maybe just a freak accident. But this is Sam Bennett. This is a repeat offender. This is what he does. This is what he's known for. So obviously he did it on purpose. And I like that, some of the players don't want to get in too much trouble, right? Don't want to get fined or anything like that. So they're going to say those things post game. I like that Craig Berube came out and said the truth. This is what happened. He got elbowed in the head. It's a dirty play, and he meant to do it. So this is what the Florida Panthers do. This is how they win games. Not always. They are a skilled team. I don't want to take that away from them, right? And they're a hardworking, hard forechecking team. But, this is what they do to certain teams throughout the playoffs, and they've done it in the past. They did it to the Leafs in the past 2 years ago, right, with Matthew Nye. So that is what happened. And there's a bunch of other stuff we're about to get to as well that really, thickens the plot. But at the end of the day, it's a dirty play that should be suspended. I think the league should send a message about headshots and how serious they want to take things, since they talk about it all the time, with a suspension here. I'm not saying suspended for the rest of the playoffs or anything, but I mean, it's getting a bit ridiculous when, a guy like this can run around doing this to different teams and different players.
Yeah, see, Palmer is saying the referee is standing right there when it happens. You'll do your thing, the league will do its thing, and I'll coach next game, hopefully. I don't know how a penalty is not called. It was, the penalty on Max Domi is called, which he moved him. I shoved my brother harder than that was shoved by Max Domi. So I don't know how on earth that's a penalty. Not that I shoved my brother, but playing, basketball and things like that, those things happen. There are basketball incidents that have more physicality than that hockey penalty, which is absolutely absurd. However, I want to dive into a few things. And you mentioned the hit. Whether or not you are fully confident that this was intentional, I am almost 100% sure it was intentional. Sam Bennett deserves zero benefit of the doubt in the situation. Zero benefit of the doubt. He hit so many. In 6 playoff games now, he's given the Leafs 2 concussions. Anthony Stolarz, assuming it's a concussion, Matthew Knies in 2023. And I can get the timeline is filled up with lots of hits, whether it's the Leafs or not. You see this here, Matthew Knies on the Bennett form. Hopefully the league will handle it and protect our players. This is the biggest thing. You have guys like Pierre LeBrun coming out and saying that we're not entirely sure if the player safety figures it warrants it. It is what it is on that front. However, let's dive into some of the PhD level analysis here, I guess you want to call it that. So there was a big tweet thread, dropped by this guy, and we'll dive into who he is in a minute here. But he said, when I initially posted on Stolarz, I didn't know that they initially left him in for more than 2 minutes until he started vomiting on the bench. We need to do better. If you vomit multiple times after a brain injury, get to the emergency room. And I do want to preface all this by saying, It's still speculation at this point, the severity of his injury, what is actually going on with him. We know it's concussion-like symptoms. I don't want to jump the gun and get too far ahead of ourselves. As soon as an update drops, which should be later on this morning into this afternoon, we will have a video. But he goes on to say, and this guy, he's been around. He, I believe, was a big contributor and did a lot of research into CTE that used to stem from wrestling, headshots, chairs, all those things if you're familiar with wrestling. But it says here, update, Stolarz likely suffered a first concussion 5 minutes into the game. Unfortunate typo there. When he took a puck to the face that knocked his mask off, and he, basically mentions a shake of the head. It's a good point, though. I don't know if the shake of the head is not, goalies do that all the time, but he got hit in the head here, Darius, and then he's kind of saying that could have been the start of a minor concussion, and then that's why when he got nicked by Sam Bennett, it turned into a major concussion, and he obviously isolated the shake. Shout out to Dan Molly for spotting it. NHL refused to put shake in their criteria for concussions. I'm not going to buy into the full, the shake thing being necessarily a symptom of I'm not saying it's not a symptom, but goalies do that all the time. However, if you line all these things up, he makes a very compelling case, and he is smarter than both of us are, not to speak for you, when it comes to this stuff. So I'll take his word right now, at least when it pertains to what could happen, especially because most of it at this point is speculation as it pertains to the severity of his injury. And again, he started throwing up, which isn't a great sign. And the most important thing, hockey aside, is that, he's okay for, him and his family and things like that, which I think will be okay. But, knock on wood there. Hopefully he's good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can speak for myself. He is, when it comes to this, way smarter than me in this department. I will say that. And for those of you who don't know Chris and some of the background there, he's a former WWE wrestler like 20 years ago, right? Ended up retiring. He's dedicated his entire life to researching and finding out more on CTE. He is the guy with CTE, right? So all of this that he's saying, I do believe that most of this is true. I think that, the leagues are slowly starting to adopt a lot of these things that they've been researching. A lot of this is new as well, because CTE and, it's not a new thing, but a lot of the research on it is new, and they're only starting to put new protocols in place now, the last couple of years. So I do think that there is a lot to it that is true in what he's saying. I think that there could be some truth to him taking the shot off the mask for sure. The shake that he's talking about in the video, I see goalies do that all the time, right? So I didn't think that was too abnormal, but maybe it is something that through their research they've seen is something that shows this is the early stage of a concussion, or maybe a minor concussion.
It was right after the puck, so
right after that, right? He did it right after that on the ensuing face-off, and then obviously a couple, then he gets elbowed in the head, right? So it started there. He ends up getting elbowed in the head, and then obviously it looks like it turned into probably a major concussion, because obviously throwing up is a symptom of that. So not great, not ideal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hopefully Anthony Stolarz is okay, and it doesn't, it isn't anything too severe, and forget playing and all that. I just hope he's okay, and it's nothing that's too crazy and he's going to have to suffer through. But again, I do think that there is something to this. A lot of people roll their eyes at Chris's tweets and stuff like that. He's just trying to make sports safer, so there's better protocols in place. So when things do happen like this, you can take players out of the game and prevent other things like people elbowing you in the head.
And of course, use this information, make your own analysis based on the information. Like, I'm not saying this is accurate fully. I'm not saying it's not accurate. At the end of the day, this is the information that's been presented, and we don't have much from the Leafs as of, the time of recording. So, this morning, I'm sure we're going to get some updates throughout the morning into the afternoon, all these different things. So we have some other quotes to dive into, and we'll also have another video later today. Obviously, there's a lot of impacts on the ice that this has on the Leafs outside of the, of course, pending suspension that is pending, meaning we don't know at the moment if they're going to get suspended. Craig Berube sure thinks that there should be a suspension. Elbow to the head, clear as day. I highly recommend you go watch the interview, because it is a media press conference, or he interrupts the reporter to say it is clear. He did not hold back, and you mentioned it there. You have, it should have been called a penalty. Like, that's kind of what got lost in this. And at the end of the day, the ref missing the call is bad. I don't think that's the biggest concern right now. You can have missed calls, and you can also have the right thing being done by the Department of Player Safety here. And they need to send a message. There's been too many hits to the head across the NHL in general, whether it's, just bad hits in general. Aaron Ekblad, he was suspended last night. And then you have all these different things happening, and it needs to be fixed. And he shouldn't have been anywhere near, the elbow shouldn't be anywhere near his head. You saw him move his elbow. But as it pertains to the Leafs here, Morgan Rielly came out and said, we have all the faith in the world in Wall. And quickly before we wrap up, because obviously the focus of this video is on the suspension, any thoughts on the Berube comment? Or also, Joseph Woll needs to be better than he was last game, but at the same time, he was thrown into a situation where you could argue, and Jake Allen on the panel was arguing that he played a fantastic game, given not playing in 18 days, getting thrown into the fire, and you still won the game. As many shots as goals that he let in, a couple of them weren't his fault, a couple of them were very weak. he could have let in a goal there towards the end multiple times. So they escape with the win. But any thoughts on that? This is going to be a conversation, not just today, not just tomorrow. It's going to be beyond this series as it pertains to this team.
I mean, Joseph Wall's won this team games in the past in the playoffs on his back, right? He's done it. I have all the faith in the world in Joseph Wall. If he has a couple days to prepare physically, mentally for the next game, I do believe that he can be the guy for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is why you got 2 goaltenders in the offseason. This is one of the reasons, at least, obviously, to manage the load throughout the regular season, but for moments like this. So I do have faith in, obviously, Joseph Wall as well. And it's going to be interesting to see, what happens and any updates that we'll get. Again, we'll keep you covered for everything that comes out over the next couple hours, I'm assuming today. But it's going to be interesting to see what the plan is, how they play in front of him as well. They have all the faith in the world in him. I think that the fan base should too, because we've seen good things out of him. And honestly, a couple of the goals, he was put into the game, and he didn't get a warm up because Anthony Stolarz wasn't pulled out by a spotter. He didn't get a warm up. He was thrown in halfway through a high pressure situation game where the Leafs were up by a couple goals. Yes, he let in a couple stinkers, but considering the situation, not that bad. The 4th goal, I don't think it was his fault either. So considering all those things, I thought he had a decent performance, and I'm looking for a big game 2 because by all accounts he's going to be playing game 2.
Yeah, let us know down below, should he be suspended, what your prediction is, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button because we're gonna have lots of videos coming for you all today. Darius, quick question for you at the end here: do you predict Sam Bennett gets suspended, and if so, how many games? Because I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on the direct implication.
Yeah, I think the league should finally send a message here that, this player can't run around like this because he's done this before. He continues to do it. They should absolutely send a message. Do I think they're going to do it? No. I wouldn't be surprised if there's no suspension, if there's no fine whatsoever, because that's just the way that the NHL likes to operate. Unfortunately, they don't like to operate like a real league at times. So I honestly don't expect anything. It would be a welcome surprise if they actually took initiative and started to do something about headshots.
Yeah, should absolutely be done, but they'll probably, open up a hat and pick a paper that says yes or no and then choose from there if they'll suspend. So let us know down below what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.